point of that phrase that you can't please all of the people all of the time. The weakness with us as human beings is people pleasing. Our most important commodity is time. So one is to rate your regulars and to say no to the wrong people. Second is to stop doing things that you don't like, and everyone, not only just you, will be better off. And say no to scarcity and go beyond the glass being half full. We have a schedule or a diary, and we need to make it, and we need to guard it. So hello and welcome from me, Patrick Twitchett, and
it's from him, Melvin Manning.
Very good. Welcome to the November CASE broadcast. CASE actually represents Connect and Support Entrepreneurs. I hope you spotted the acronym there. And we run open and closed mastermind groups. And we run this monthly broadcast, unedited, on video and audio, where we want to give you, the listener, some valuable input to help you on your journey. So each month we discuss the content of a personal development book, keep our topic around that. As I mentioned last month, the phrase, readers are leaders. And I did tell Melvin that there was a poll that said leading CEOs read on average 60 books per year, to which Melvin responded something like, well, they want to do something more useful with their time, or they've got too much time on their hands. Now, Melvin, you give us our word of the month. It's become some sort of regular thing now. So you gave us a word, you left us with a word last month, which I took quite personally.
I did.
You expound on that word, please.
I did, and I hope you're paying attention to it in this particular broadcast.
Yeah.
I don't want you being garrulous.
So please explain to our audience the meaning of garrulous.
Well, if they haven't guessed it by now, it's about being too wordy and ridiculously talkative.
Well, you know someone like that, do you, Melvin?
I do. I've got a feeling he's in my line of sight as we speak.
So I think Melvin's word of the month has become Melvin's way to prod Patrick.
Well, this month I'm actually going to be talking about myself.
Well, that's good.
I think this is.
There's three fingers pointing back at you, Melvin. So.
Well, I'm not sure that I'm looking for sympathy, but it's just who I am.
Okay. Okay. So, explain it. Tell us your word.
Shall I do this?
You can't explain.
Well, I won't explain it as such. I won't explain it, but I'll tell you what it is.
We can't explain that word, can you? You've only got to tell us what the word is.
I'm going to tell you, that's right. It's recalcitrant.
Recalcitrant. Okay. Sounds something to do with lime scale, but I'm probably wrong.
No, and it's nothing to do with calcium either.
Okay, recalcitrant.
You don't take it as a tablet.
Okay. I'll put that bottle back in the drawer.
However, if you did take it as a tablet, I'm not sure I'd want to be your friend.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, there may be a clue. Okay, so without any further ado, we're going to listen out, listen up, and listen in. You see the hand motions there as well.
You got it right. You got that right. It's fantastic.
I've been practicing, like what's his name used to do, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1. Yes. Where is Dusty been? Where have you put him?
I still can't do that. I still can't do 3, 2, 1.
And why would you?
Used to do. And for anyone that's young and listening in, Ted Rogers was on a game show called 3-2-1 in like the 1970s when the world was black and white. So only oldies like me and Melvin can remember that. So folks, thank you for joining us on our broadcast. This has been brought to you by Case Mastermind, the brainstorming mastermind group that you, the listener, can be a part of. Just follow the links in the notes attached to our website and Eventbrite pages to see what events you can join us at. If you enjoy our content, please share and review. One of the talented people who leave us a great review with that month's watchword that's given out on our monthly broadcast will be selected for a prize. If you would like to hear more, please hit the subscribe button so you can hear more from the Case Mastermind team. So remember, folks, listen out, listen up, and listen in. See you soon. So I'm going to talk about this month's book of the month.
You speak for yourself, you.
Indeed. So
I'm very young at heart.
The book and the topic. Now, here's the thing. Melvin and I, we're always changing. We're always brainstorming and changing the way we do things. And we because we run this monthly open mastermind group, we have a particular topic that we'll discuss in that, and how we hold our groups. It's more of a workshop. It's very interactive. People discuss backwards and forwards. And so we're deciding that the topics that we've got for that, which are led by the attendees of that group. So we ask the attendees to give us subjects, and I know I'm probably being quite garrulous now on Melvin, so move on. But we've
only got one day to do this, Patrick.
Yeah, I know. So we want to tie in our broadcast with the topic for the following month. So this is obviously November's broadcast, so we're going to discuss this in our group in December, and we're going to try and keep that rolling onwards. So you're seeing a pivotal moment in history. So all of our listeners, both of them, this is a pivotal moment in the history of the Case broadcast. So this month's topic to discuss, and the book is called The Power of No.
No.
No. Yes. So I'm going to start us off with a phrase, which is a very famous phrase. You can please some of the people all of the time. You can please all of the people some of the time, but you can't please all of the people all of the time. Now, this is attributed to the poet John Lygate, but it's made famous by whom? Now, I bet you know this one. So who is that phrase famously linked to?
He's a famous president, I believe.
Yes.
Mr. Lincoln.
Indeed, Abraham Lincoln. So now, or commonly known as Abe. Now,
Abe, yeah.
History says that he said it. I think that he said it.
Well, you was there. You'd know.
I was there. I was there at the Gettysburg Address and everything else.
You fired the first shot. I heard all about it.
But I like to Google.
You just couldn't say no, Patrick.
Sorry?
You couldn't say no.
No, indeed. No, I was invited. I just couldn't say no. So, so I Googled it because I wanted to get the wording right. Not that Google's always right, but it actually said there that people said historically he never said that. But lots of press releases after that event actually said that, stated that he said it. So it's quite a mishmash there. They think that he never actually said it, but it's a very good poignant phrase.
Well, him and Michael Caine are very famous for not saying things.
Well, that's And not a lot of people know that. But the point of that phrase, that you can't please all of the people all of the time. The weakness with us as human beings is people pleasing. It's a really terrible thing that can engulf us, and we've all been guilty of it at several points in our lives, and some people more than others. But I think really the power of no is to know and understand why you are doing something. There has to be a purpose. The focus of someone young in life, if they know their career, they're really focused. You know that person at school who was the SWAT, Melvin? I mean, what were you like at school, Melvin? Were you the SWAT? Were you messing about? What camp were you in?
Me, I was academic, but I was never the SWAT. I never studied. I hated examinations. I was middle of the road student, but I was incredibly fat and beaten up a lot.
Oh, Melvin, I didn't know that. Oh, it's great. You know, I was a tubby when I was younger. So yeah, I remember being called Fatty Patty. And even when I lost all my weight, people would call me Fatty Patty.
Yeah, well, back in my day, I was called something else, but we won't go into that.
But no. And nothing can be crueler than the playground.
No, and particularly if it's got a 7-foot wall that they throw you over.
Oh dear. Yeah, I know.
But the bullies had a lot to pay for in my latter years at school.
Yes, yeah, indeed. Well, I unfortunately wasn't I suppose I was a people pleaser because I just like making people laugh. So I used to just clown around all the time and get in trouble for it. So, but the SWAT, there's something behind the SWAT because I've encountered people along the way. Someone who knows they want to be a doctor. I do know a particular lady, and she knew that she wanted to be a doctor about 6 or 8 years old. And her mum and dad didn't force her to that. That's what she decided. And she is now a doctor. And she spent her whole time at school focused and loved it because she knew her end goal. She knew where she was heading. And that's my point. If you know why you're doing something, you are focused on it, you're absorbed in it, and you've got that passion for it. If you don't, then you're there under false pretenses. It's a pain, it's an agony.
Yeah, but if you want to go back to doctoring, Mr. Patrick, probably from the age of 2, a child is very well known for using the power of no. A lot of it stems back to your early childhood. And it's all about not being able to understand and certainly not listening to good advice.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think when we were talking about this, we mentioned the film with Jim Carrey, which we both seen, Yes Man, which
Fabulous, highly recommended movie.
Which is a funny and a silly film. We'll point that
Quite
out.
sad if you look at the story that it's trying to tell.
Well, that's right, and it has got a point behind it. And basically, I don't want to ruin the film for you, but he goes to a convention and gets involved with someone, and he's got to say yes to everything, and we see how ridiculous it can be. But it's something that people often do in life.
Well, it's a cult mindset in that particular instance.
Yeah, of course. And I'm not going to make any more spoilers for anyone watching. I hate spoiling a film for people, so I'm not going to say any more. But I think there's important things that we can do, and I'm going to touch on a few things very soon. But I think before we dive into those points, that we have a schedule or a diary, and we need to make it, and we need to guard it. Me personally, items on a list will never get done until they're planned into a schedule. I remember hearing that so long ago, and it's so true. Until you get that off that list and diarise it, and I don't care whether it's today, tomorrow, next month, next year, or in 5 years' time, or scheduled in stages, such as I'm going to write a book. You're not going to go, right, I'm going to sit down tomorrow and write a book, but every first day of the week, I'm going to spend 3 hours writing that book. It's scheduling it. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's really, really important that you plan your journey, because otherwise, you don't know where you're going. If I'm going to take an expedition to Australia by land, I'm going to plan my journey. I'm not just going to go out the front door and go, right, what direction do I head in? I'm going to make a plan. And we have to in any journey in life. But in that schedule, a big tip is don't overload that schedule. Give yourself enough time, yet only enough, not too long either. So if you've got a task, work out how long that should take and stick to that time. If you do it quicker, fantastic, but don't let it go over. I think it's like when you do your homework, Melvin. Now, how were you with your homework? Were you the night you were given it, or the night before it had to be handed in?
10 minutes before it was handed in.
The ink was, we were blowing the ink, were you? Yeah, I was pretty much the same. My mum and dad could marvel how I could watch the telly, listen to the radio, and do my homework at the same time. But yeah, I could. But the thing was that you had a deadline, and if you don't give yourself a deadline, it can overflow. And if we don't say, right, I'm doing something on LinkedIn and I'm doing it in 20 minutes, very often we go, oh, let's look at that post, and then we're lost, and before we know it, there's an hour or 2 hours gone. So you've got to guard your time, because we only have the same amount of time each, don't we, Melvin?
Well, the thing is that this is all very factual, and it's all very probable that most people out there, probably 70% of people out there, fall into this category and have this failing. So, what do you think? I mean, what kind of decision-making processes are you looking to take out of the power of no that you feel would benefit our listener, our viewer?
Okay, yes. And I did note there that you were very carefully guiding me along, because I'm rambling again, aren't you? Right, so...
Someone's got to do it.
Indeed they have, Melvin. You're like a shepherd herding the sheep. Right, so you've got to be quick to make decisions and slow to change them. That's another Abraham Lincoln and a lot of other successful people. In fact, all successful people tend to live by that philosophy. Let's get to the point quick.
You do, because, listen, overload is a very, very dangerous thing. And in overload, if you were in a vessel, the vessel could explode. What happens in people's lives is the likelihood of explosion of overdoing, overcommitting, doubling up, duplication, and beyond. And then what happens? People get let down.
That's right. You let people down along the way, and more importantly, you let yourself down. And this is where overwhelm tends to lead to nervous breakdowns. People's minds can't switch off. It's a very negative situation.
But let's roughly touch on something that will be another subject, possibly for one of our podcasts early next year. Is the most famous expression ever: I'm too busy.
Yes. Being busy, and that's become. Some people hold it as a badge of honour. They like to say it. It's something fills their ego with saying it, I think. But I think we need to look at the perception of how that's seen to other people. And there's three real points. One is it's rude, and that's how I see it a lot. It's like, I'm busy. Well, when people say that, I think, well, I'm busy too. We're all busy. What someone is saying when they're saying that is, I'm busier than you. And how do they know, and how can they judge? I think another one, people, and this is perception, it's how people see you, yeah? But number two is struggling. People look at that and they go, oh, well, we can't really cope with stuff. They think there's poor management, understaffing, they think things like that.
Well, that's a serious negative. You very rarely get anyone admit to the fact they're struggling, but what the underlying factors are is by saying that they're just so busy, too busy. Reading between the lines is they're struggling.
Yes, yeah, that's right. And I think that leads to this third point, is that then they're too busy. So well, first of all, if you're too busy, then I won't want to refer you or recommend you to any of my colleagues because I don't want to kill you. Because if you're that busy, it tells me that you're overloaded and you're overwhelmed, what we were just talking about, Melvin.
Well, I look at that slightly differently. If I'm phoning you up, Patrick, and you're so busy and too busy, the way I look at it, because I need to facilitate my inquiry, I'll look elsewhere. I'll be looking for plan B and C to make sure that, because this guy, even though he's good at what he does, is so busy, I need to find someone else. So the inevitable event of that happening is the fact that you will lose business.
Absolutely, because people will feel that you're going to let them down.
Yeah, forget about the confidence issues and the ability issues, Patrick.
Sorry?
I say forget about the confidence and your ability issues. It's all about the fact of, I need to get this job done. I'm on my own deadline.
Yeah, indeed. And I think it's a big topic. And one big thing that people do that, I don't know how you feel about this, it does irritate me. I don't mind people doing it, but it does irritate me. When people are finishing on the phone and they say, okay, yeah, that's fine, yeah, bye, and then they put the phone down. I come off there and I just feel like I've been almost rushed out the door. Like someone's like, okay, mate, look, I've got to get on with my work. Here's the door. I'm just pushing you out. Bye. Get out. That's how it feels. I don't think that's what they mean. They might do. But it's perceived, isn't it?
Yeah.
And people say, busy. I'm busy. And I don't know why they repeat words like that. I find it quite irritating, but it's the message that they're sending when they do it.
But then that's no different to sitting in a room with a dozen people in some kind of meeting and someone takes a phone call.
Oh, I know, it's a massive bugbear of mine. And I heard someone speak on it before. I think it was a preacher or a vicar or something, but it was a very interesting subject. He said he was I think it was a hotel reception, and he was talking to someone, the receptionist, and the phone rang. And they said, oh, excuse me a moment, and picked up the phone and started a conversation. And he just said, do you know what? It just struck me. How rude is that? That's just like having a conversation like me and you are now, and someone else walks in the room, and I just turn from you. I said, oh, sorry, Melvin, blah, 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 and just go into a full conversation with somebody else.
Well, I'll give you another instance. I'm having a Zoom call with you, and maybe there's 50 people actually on screen on various pages. Now, you can't see everyone, can you? But they might be doing what you're doing now, perhaps. Playing with their mobile phone, looking at messages, looking at texting, looking at something obviously has occurred, which means the focus on the meeting's gone.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind, I think the figures are something like we can only retain 20% of anything that we're involved with at any one time. Because it's only repetition that makes us remember more. your audience is just not participating at that point.
No, and
I mean, my mobile phone is on the other side of my room right now, deliberately, so I don't play with it. Now, I'm not saying I've never done it, but I'm trying my damnedest to be focused.
yeah,
And I hope our listeners and our viewers are actually appreciating that.
yes, and I mean, my phone's near me, and oddly enough, as you said that, anyone that's watching this on the video and not on the podcast, I actually picked my phone up just to make sure it was on silent when you said that. So I looked down, checked my phone to be on silent.
That was my cue, Patrick. You gave me the cue.
Well, yeah, and I sort of reacted to that, but it's true. I mean, I'm mortified if my phone goes off in a meeting. I'm mortified, and once I had an alarm set that I had forgotten to switch off, and it went off in a meeting. Even when you put your phone on silent, an alarm will go off. So there's a tip for anyone listening.
Well, that's right. But let me ask you the question: who is the person that said, or where does this kind of view come from, where technology is our creation and we are the master, as opposed to the other way around?
Well, indeed, yes.
Or am I stealing your thunder here, Patrick?
Well, that's right. But we become a slave to technology. We're meant to, we created it. It's meant to make our lives easier, and all we've allowed it to do is make our lives busier. And I'm going to say that again because I think that's a really important point. Technology is there to make our lives easier, but we've allowed it to make ourselves busier. Too many people are absorbed into looking at their phones and everything.
Well, that is truly the power of now, because what happens if the phone breaks or you leave it behind at a venue? What state of mind do you become?
Oh, the panic.
It's like your head's fallen off your shoulders.
Yeah.
You've lost your left arm.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't manage without it, which is all rubbish.
Yeah, I know, we've become dependent on it, haven't we? So,
Totally.
Indeed. So anyway, look, the book, The Power of No, is basically an instruction manual. And I think the main purpose behind it is to help you get healthy, rid yourself of bad relationships, and embrace abundance, and ultimately to say yes to yourself. And I think that's the important thing here, is to look at yourself. The very important thing when they instruct you on a plane, when they say when the oxygen masks come down, probably mentioned this in a previous podcast, but you could be there with an elderly person sitting this side and a young child this side. And the instruction is that you put the mask on you first, because if you're trying to help them, you could then pass out and you can't help anyone. You've got to look after you first,
yeah,
so that you can help others.
So in business, I would suggest, and you can confirm, hopefully, Patrick, that some of the most successful people on the planet that are, let's say, leaders in their fields, their greatest pastime is actually saying no. Would you kind of maybe elaborate on that particular situation?
Indeed. And Steve Jobs was very well known for saying no, and his ability to say no. Maybe the way he said it wasn't right at times, but it's so true.
And just for those that don't know, Steve Jobs was...
Well, indeed, I shouldn't assume, should I? Steve Jobs was he was the founder of Apple, wasn't he?
Yeah. No, sadly, no longer with us.
No, that's right. No, he left us at quite a young.
But even if you relate that to people that the people that people will know, like, for argument's sake, the Bill Gates of this world, the Richard Bransons of this world, the Rupert Murdochs of this world, Bernie Ecclestone that ran Formula One for decades, they were open to suggestion, but they learnt and then they became expert at when to say no.
Yes, they did indeed. And I think that is a key importance. We've got a valuable commodity that people are realising more and more. I think nowadays we realise it a lot, that our most important commodity is time.
I mean, I'm sure we'll go into it another time, but another word that perhaps we'll focus on, and we'll obviously have the appropriate literature available, is the word delegation.
Yeah.
The ability to delegate, which is obviously, you know, the greatest, let's say, place to find yourself in.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So look, let's get on with 3 crucial lessons or steps.
Let's do it. Absolutely.
To help you harness the power of no. So I'm going to give you those now and then we'll break them down. So 1 is to rate your regulars and to say no to the wrong people. 2nd is to stop doing things that you don't like, and everyone, not only just you, will be better off. And say no to scarcity and go beyond the glass being half full. So
are you going to elaborate on these, Patrick?
I am indeed. So lesson 1, rate your regulars to say no to the wrong people. So look, we regularly talk and meet with people in our lives. Some we can walk away from and feel terrible. Some we can walk away from and feel uplifted. There's an energy that comes from that. Now, in an ideal world, we'd like to get rid of all of them entirely, but that's not always possible. We have friends and we have family, and family are friends that we didn't choose. I always say that we're obligated to be part of their clan. So
what are you saying, Patrick? Are you saying that we can always pick our friends, but we can't obviously pick our family?
Indeed. As they say, friends are family that you choose. So, you know, I'm very fortunate. I've got some very nice family members, but, you know, not everyone can say the same. So you can't maybe cut them out, but you can reduce the amount of time that you spend with them. So here's an exercise that anybody could do. So we know that we are the sum of the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So make a list of all the people you see at least 5 times a week. Have a real think who you engage with. Then,
slightly different circumstances right now, though, Patrick, because we're not really in a situation of physically being able to see people as regularly as we used to.
No, but you still engage with people on the phone,
yeah.
Zoom or video call or whatever you want to call it. So then once you've got that list, rate how the encounters with these people make you feel. 1 being the worst, 10 being great, fantastic. Now, with the results of that list, you can instantly know who makes you feel good and who's rather poisonous or toxic. They call them mood hoovers or mood vacuums. Start spending more time with all the people rated 8 and above, and less with everyone else, especially those lower than a 5. Because like I say, or said earlier, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. Now, while you can't change the people that are around you, you can change the people that are around you. So, step by step, if you go through that process, eventually you'll be left with what a lot of people refer to as an inner circle. That inner circle will help you thrive. It will be a positive group of people that you can absorb that positive energy off of each other. Positivity breeds positivity, and unfortunately negativity breeds negativity. So I think that's really summing up point one. Have you got anything to add there, Melvin?
No, I think you've done that quite specifically. So I think let's run on to number 2.
Okay, so lesson 10 is to stop doing things you don't like and everyone will be better off. Now, look, we can all end up being dragged into the wrong things. I think we get a realization of our mortality at some point in our lives. Now, hopefully, that's before a doctor says to us the worst, that you've only got so long. Sometimes we have our own life-threatening experience, but sometimes we have one in the family, someone close to us, and it shakes the tree. And it wakes us up and we think, do you know what? That person's really healthy or whatever. I thought we were all going to live forever and we're not. And they value life. And you must have seen people that have experienced this, Melvin.
We've all done things in our lives that we really didn't want to do. But for whatever the reasons, and some of them are personal, some of them are monetary, you do them. But you really don't want to do them again. No one's going to go through life not having that experience.
Yeah, no, but the point I'm trying to make is, Melvin, you know those people that have had, have you met people that have had that experience and they've changed their attitude and perception, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done it myself.
Yeah, and you know, I've had that. I've seen others people, and that was enough to give me that experience, which was great.
I mean, going back to your introduction, in our case Mastermind, we look at those aspects. We fish that information out of our attendees. We look to not educate, because you can't educate, but we look to influence and alert people's mindsets to the fact of these situations occurring, so that if they are able to avoid them or make a change, make that change, because it will enhance and add immense value in your future life to get involved in situations that are fun and enjoyable and you really like to do. And to say no in those situations where you're being asked to do something where it's not in your comfort zone, very difficult, because it's that situation in the human mindset of you wish to please. Well, sometimes you have to realize it's actually good to not please.
Yeah, this is it. I think when you say yes, something that you don't want to do, because there's a feeling of awkwardness or feeling obliged, not only will you start disliking the work that you're then doing, you also start disliking the person that asked you to do it in the first place. That then, the chain reaction of that is that the person who's given you that work will start to feel bad too.
Yeah, but I'll give you an argument by return. The work that you're being offered, as much as you will hate to do it, is going to be highly rewarding financially, because mentally it's going to stimulate you probably by 0. But the end result is that you're going to get a load of money. But what's going to suffer while you're doing it? What is, it's a short-term fix, and everything then in your life that is going to be sacrificed because of that situation is going to suffer in the long term. So people have to think about the fact that what's the value in pleasing this person who might be trying to bully you because of your ability to get this work done. It's no different to the bully in the playground I mentioned earlier. in the end, it backfires. Because what goes around comes around. And what we have to realize in our little bubbles, our life cycle, is that we need to look after the longevity of our ongoing business and take away what effectively is potential greed on a short-term fix.
Yes. But people that I've known people in jobs, and you know, they say I'd rather do something else, but it doesn't pay as well as this, you know, and they're miserable.
But your ongoing business suffers, the work that you like to do. You start to lose faith. You start to lose faith.
Yeah. Yeah, and that goes back to your key point of delegation, that if there is something that needs to be done, and you don't like doing it, you hate doing it, then delegation is a key thing there, that you know, you want to be enjoying what you're doing. We've only got one life. You might as well enjoy it to the max. And you know, like you say, people can guilt you in, they can bully you in, they can guilt you in. And the guilting one can often be far worse, because you know, people will feel really obliged to do.
And to the listeners and viewers out there, all two of them that are listening to this, be prepared for that bully tactic, which is your smooth talker, who can be very highly persuasive and give you a guilt trip at the same time, to put you in a position to do something that really you need to be thinking 3 times about. And the usual answer is don't do it. Let them down politely. You may never hear from them again, but that's not a bad thing.
No, that's right. Yeah, some of that bullying and guilt trips isn't blatant. It can be very subtle. And yeah, too many people, you know, like a very old style traditional sales approach, where people just manipulated people, and then next morning people would get buyer's remorse, ring up and cancel whatever they obligated to, because.
But let's not reflect on those type of salespeople and say who they are. But you know, if you're in the market for a car or a window, that's where you're going to get caught.
And what I will say to all our listeners, they're not all like that. Some nice people, but yes, there is a bit of a.
Indeed. Let's get on to point 3, Patrick.
Well, I want to sum that point 2 up. So instead of conforming to other people's expectations, form your own and follow your own path. Don't be led around by other people. So lesson 3. Lesson 3 is to say no to scarcity, to go beyond the glass being half full. Now, this really, we have to step right back into our ancestry, because basic primitive man, all he had to do was run out and find food, get shelter, and that was his pure essentials in life to survive. And because of that, there's this intrinsic scarcity mindset that still lays in us. Now, the thing is, for the majority of us, those things aren't scarce resources for a lot of people now. But we then still focus on these things that we need to give us some sort of sense of fulfillment, that we've got to get that 1 millionth Facebook follower. We've got to get to one more new fast food restaurant or something nearby. We've got to get the house with 1 extra room, or our neighbours have painted the steps red, so we've got to paint ours red. And there's all this sort of going on. And it makes us miserable. More and more doesn't do us any good today. It just gives just gives us a hard time. So we need to shift our focus to the actual abundance that is all around us. You know, we can look at the neighbour's loud party that is, you know, thumping through the wall, and sit there and go, oh, I hate this. Or we could actually say that, isn't it wonderful that we've got a stereo in the corner that we can play our favourite music at any time that we want.
But you have to be able to afford it, Patrick. It's no different to anybody wishing to change their Renault Megane to a Jaguar X-Type. You know, you're talking about another area of expertise that we all need to encompass is achievement.
Well, there's achievement, but I think there's also gratitude and contentment, Melvin. And this is where this point's alluding.
So where does no? Where would no come into this particular example?
Well, so I'm getting to that point, Melvin. I'm getting to that point. So when you recognise that there's nothing that's really scarce in this world, you can move away from the glass half empty to the glass being half full. Nothing's changed, but your attitude, your perception of things around you, it comes down to gratitude. A lot of people speak on gratitude. It's a subject in itself, but practicing gratitude gives you a sense of calmness that you won't find elsewhere, and it will make it a lot easier for you to say no, because you'll see that what you have is plentiful, and you've got to get into that right mindset of gratitude. Let me give you a really good example.
So hang on a minute. So gratitude, does that fit with appreciation?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Appreciating what you've got.
So this is within one's own mindset, not being showered by others.
Absolutely. So what we do, and look, the social media world is full of it, because it will get filled up with things from all walks of life, and you've got those people on there, and half the time it's all made up, it's all fake. You hear of celebrities, or even just your average Joe, photoshopping their picture so they look slimmer, and all of this. You see people taking photos and sort of going, you know, that face where and you've got to look up to the camera, because then you can't see your double chin, apparently. There's all these techniques. They're making themselves look better than what they are.
Is that better? Is that better? Is that better?
Pardon?
Is that better? But now I can't see you.
Oh, I see. Sorry. For those that are listening on the podcast, Melvin is raising his head to reduce the...
Well, I got rid of my double chin, but it didn't have any desired effect. Because when I put my head back, the double chin came back.
Well, this is it, and people Photoshop.
Let me give you my thing, a human thing. They couldn't do this in the Neanderthal times, as you went back to. But you need to look in the mirror and love what you see, no matter what shape or size you are.
Yes.
Or what you look like.
Appreciating what you've got. Well, there's an old saying. I used to complain about how my shoes were cramping my feet until I saw a man with no legs.
Yeah.
There's always someone worse off than you.
Yep.
And that is the key. So we all look at these people with, you know, a handful of money and the yacht in the background, and it's not their yacht and it's not their money. It's all fake. But whether it's fake or real, we look at that because that's being aspirational. It's looking beyond what we've currently got, there's nothing wrong with aspiration, but contentment comes from let's look at the person who's got less than we've got. You appreciate what you've got all the more. You then realise you've got things in abundance. there's still a lot of people in the world that have to walk miles to get a glass of water, Melvin, and I often do this when I go to the tap and fill up my glass of water, my famous tap water. Everyone knows me for my lovely tap water. Not everyone can do that. And then, you know, you see these programs on the telly, they're drinking like dirty water, and you just think, oh my goodness. But for us, that's a luxury.
Yeah, but you haven't explained to our brethren out there that you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to walk those 30 miles so you can come back for 7 o'clock to do these podcasts.
Don't get everyone feeling sorry for me.
I don't think it's quite the same as somebody that's in some back and beyond in Africa that walks through mud and desert and arid terrain to get that glass of water. It's not quite the same.
No.
We are privileged. We are privileged and need to appreciate it, I think is what you're saying.
Yeah, look, I like history, and I often look back, you know, Tudor times, Henry VIII, Elizabeth the First, and they had luxurious lifestyles, and our lives we live better than they did. So we're living like kings and queens, a lot of us, and we should appreciate that. You know, the fact that we can walk along and breathe. Some people can't walk. You know,
so can I ask you, Patrick, if you wanted to summarise that particular example, where does that fit with saying no?
Well, as to what I've already said, that the gratitude and the calmness you get from that, and that sense of abundance around you, that you have got a lot to be grateful for, and you have got a lot in your life, it makes it a lot easier to say no, because you know, there'll be a bit of work come along that, you know, you haven't really got the capacity for it, but you just want more, you want more, and you'll actually realise, well, I've actually got enough, and I don't need that element of particular work. And you pick and choose who you say yes to and who you say no to, and that will free up your life and make life a much happier and freer place for you to live.
And what about the effect that actually the luxury of saying no has on your mindset, on your brain, on your demeanor? Do you not think that when you've achieved that goal and you've actually made that step, that the stress values and the anxiety values that come and hinder our lives in the main, which we don't actually realize, the release valve on that is immense? Would you agree with that?
Definitely, Melvin. To free up that mind, to sit down, to work that you enjoy. You know, I get up in the morning, I'm excited for the day, can't wait to get started, because I love everything that I do. And when you're in that place, you're relaxed, you're free. You are going to face moments of pressure, but they're going to feel different.
But it's not all about work, Patrick.
Absolutely, it's not just work, and I want to make that very clear. It's every aspect of your life. There's lots of aspects to our life, personal and relationships and everything. And this encompasses all of that. It's not just about work. It's about every aspect in your life. The ability to turn down the things that you don't want in your life and to say yes to the things that you do. And that brings you and gives you control. You're in control of your own life, your own destiny.
Yeah.
That's a powerful place to be. Very powerful.
And that's the power of no.
That is the power of no. I think we've summed up our summarisations there, haven't we, Melvin?
We have summed up beyond summary.
Indeed, we summarised to death. Fantastic. So I think that's good. And I think we've also done this in a slightly shorter time this month. So I'm going to ask for feedback, and I want you to put the word of the month in your review. So the word of the month this month has to be the word no. And we'd like you to put that in there in a creative way. That might be even in a repetitive way. However you want to do that to amuse us, because whatever one that we feel is the best, we will select, and there will be the opportunity to win a prize.
Hey, drum roll.
Very good. I like the build up. We're getting there. So I think without any further ado, Melvin, it's time to close. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
So folks, thank you for joining us on our broadcast. This has been brought to you by Case Mastermind, a brainstorming mastermind group that you, the listener, can be a part of. Just follow the links in the notes attached to our website and Eventbrite pages to see what events you can join us at. If you enjoy our content, please share and review. One of the talented people who leave us a great review with that month's watchword that's given out on our monthly broadcast will be selected for a prize. If you would like to hear more, please hit the subscribe button so you can hear more from the Case Mastermind team. So remember folks, listen out, listen up, and listen in. See you soon.